Anna Kennedy is an autism campaigner with Anna Kennedy Online, and I understand you have 2 autistic children. Is that right? May I call you Anna to make it easier?
Yeah, you may, yes, Nick. We've spoken before.
Anna, good to have you on. Remind the listeners what we've talked about and who we are talking about specifically in this instance.
Okay, so I'm a mum of 2 autistic adults. They're now 32 and 35, and also my husband is on the spectrum as well. So I fight every day to try and make voices be heard, that whether they're children, whether they're adults. I totally sympathise with Paul. I speak to so many families where autism either brings them closer together or they split up. And it teaches you things about yourself, and also you feel that you learn things about yourself that you didn't even possibly think that you could cope with. So from getting the diagnosis, trying to find the right school, transition, when they get to 18, 19, then, what happens? Do they go to college? What support do they need? It's just a minefield of information. So it sounds like, I'm not sure if Paul has had a social care assessment, and I know that they're really under pressure at the minute, but you need as much support as you possibly can. Like my son was at a centre, it closed in August, we were given 28 days notice, so now instead of getting 5 days 10 till 3, he gets 4 days 10 till 3, so I work full time supporting families and adults, and that's what my husband does as well. So many parents, and only in the last couple of weeks I've been speaking to parents who feel isolated, unheard, absolutely shattered, and I totally get that because, like, for example, my son Angelo is 32, he doesn't sleep a lot, he has 3 to 4 hours sleep, he has toileting issues, and those are things that I have to deal with every single day, but I love him no matter what, and those small progresses that he makes are huge to us, and it might not even seem anything to somebody listening in. And it's a lifestyle that you've got to get used to, and you do what works for you. So my husband and I both work from home. We've set up the house in such a way that we can still look after Angelo. He's got no sense of danger. He's always going to need one-to-one support for the rest of his life. And like Paul, you worry about who is going to look after my son when I'm no longer around. And my eldest son, Patrick, says to me, "Mum, I can't do what you do." And I said, "I wouldn't expect you to, Patrick." I said, "Please just make sure that he's healthy, he's clean, wherever he is. He looks happy." Because you hear such horror stories.
Okay, can I... As you've chosen to name your sons, I will pick up on that if that's okay. Is Patrick... You say both your children are autistic. What level does Patrick have?
So Patrick has Asperger's syndrome, and he was diagnosed at the age of 4, but I wasn't told until he was 7 years old, and I found out by accident because he was struggling at school. So he now is in the workplace, and he's been working at Pinewood Studios now for 8 years. They're fantastic with him. They give him a lot of support, and he loves his job, and he's also now living in his own flat, but he still needs support now and again, where Angelo lives at home with me, and he's always going to need one-to-one support. I'm 65 now, yes, and I can't do what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And what I worry about is that there's so many charities, smaller charities now, that are closing down, and they are the lifeline to a lot of families.
What are the pressures? This young man is 21 in December. What are the pressures as he moves from his teens into young adulthood, the additional pressures?
The additional pressures are, obviously, his parents are not going to be able to look after him. And you need to find the right placement that really understands your son, where he can progress, where he feels happy. For me, as long as my son is happy, that's fantastic, because he's always going to need one-to-one support. I have spoken to adults where their parents have died, and one man ended up sleeping in a tent with his dog in the freezing cold weather. He contacted me, said, I can't live like this, somebody else.
And lastly, how aware are local authorities, local NHS trusts to these issues, Anna?
I would like to think they're getting better, but parents are still struggling, and I think it's as well to do with the lack of funding. Obviously, there's the Oliver McGowan training that's going on in hospitals, but what's happening is that a lot of the hospitals are not progressing to the second stage. So I've seen Paula, who's one of my ambassadors, is now saying that there's so many different organisations are getting the funding for the second tier of Oliver McGowan training, but they're not actually training their staff.
Anna Kennedy, you're an autism campaigner with Anna Kennedy Online, and you spoke of your 2 sons. Thank you for your input on that.